Hi Lakeview! Welcome to this month's spiritual formation moment. That's right, we're switching from weekly to monthly spiritual formation moments just for the summer months. So stay tuned to our webpage, Facebook, and YouTube on the first Wednesday of June, July, and August for our new spiritual formation moments with practices. Even though there's one moment per month, there will be weekly practices for each moment. For example, this month's formation moment is about scripture, which I know we've already talked about, but let's face it, it's a pretty important one. And in this video, I'm going to give you a practice for each week of the month of June to help make engaging scripture part of the regular rhythm of your life. Here are the practices for this month. Week 1, read it. Week 2, memorize it. Week 3, listen to others who write and talk about it. And week 4, pray it. The Bible is the central story around which we build our community. It helps us understand our history, our identity, and God. We've already talked about what an amazing and complicated book the Bible is. There are so many things coalescing and converging as we read the scriptures, including the context in which they were written and the context we're reading them in. And so we can't just figure the Bible out overnight. We have to commit to reading it over the long haul and commit to understanding what biases we bring when we read it. In this way, engaging scripture becomes a kind of back and forth as we learn about it, and it exposes things in us, and we go back and read it differently, and on and on and on. Lauren Winner tells the beautiful story in one of her books about her friend being confirmed, and this friend expressing doubts to her father about whether she believed everything she was supposed to believe in order to be confirmed. These were her father's words. "What you promise when you are confirmed is not that you will believe this forever. What you promise is that this is the story that you will wrestle with forever." Last week we talked about how big the story of God is. So we don't have to be afraid to engage it, to change our minds, to grow and learn as we experience new things and see different things reflected in the scriptures. So here are some moves for wrestling with the scriptures. For this week, the first week of June, your wrestling move is read it. Read the Bible. And there are so many ways to do this. First off, there are a ton of Bible reading apps that can help you. And these will all be listed on the spiritual formation page in the resources. You can find a reading plan that fits your life. You can. Or you can just pick up a Bible and start reading. If you're new to reading scripture, let me warn you that there are many different translations of the Bible, some of which are very hard to read. So I would suggest starting with a version of the Bible like the New Living Translation or the Message. These versions use easily accessible language. And start reading in the Gospels or the stories of Jesus or in the New Testament letters. And if you need help asking the right questions as you read, you can go back to our May 6th formation moment where I talk about the Swedish Bible study method. And I'll also include that in our resources. For the second week of June, your practice is memorize it. Is there a passage of scripture that means a lot to you? Commit it to memory. I memorized Psalm 46 when I was a young adult, and 25 years later, that passage still pops up in moments of chaos or anxiety. It has helped me to pray when I didn't know what to pray and helped me settle my mind when I felt like I was drowning. If you don't have a passage of scripture that means something to you personally, I've listed some on our spiritual formation page that might be a good starting point. Some of them are even simple enough that you could invite your whole family to memorize them along with you. Maybe you could even make a game or a competition of it. If you get these verses into the heads of your kiddos now, they will never forget them, unlike us old folk who have used up most of our RAM. In the third week of June, your practice is to read others who write about the Bible. It's important to read scripture within a community. This way, we understand the ways that we read the Bible from a point of view and how that point of view informs what we read. For example, in recent years, we've had a plethora of Black and women theologians start to offer their interpretations of Scripture. And we've begun to understand how what we thought was an objective view of Scripture was actually a white male viewpoint. Our understanding of the Bible has been incredibly enriched by making room for other voices. One podcast I have loved recently is The Bible for Normal People with Pete Enns and Jared Bias. They have tons of guests with many different viewpoints on the Bible, and it's very challenging and life-giving. Now, just because I'm suggesting this podcast doesn't mean I agree with all of the points of views represented there, but I think it's a good exercise to think about how other people are reading the Bible so that I can do my own wrestling. Again, check out the Spiritual Formation resources for a list of books and podcasts. Finally, for the last week of June, your practice is to pray Scripture. There are lots of passages in Scripture where we are tutored in prayer. The Psalms are the prayer book of David and the people of Israel and Jesus. Flip through the Psalms and find yourself or your situation somewhere in them and start praying them. Psalm 130 has been one of my favorites to pray when I've been holding the tension of life and I'm not sure what to pray. This is what it says. Help God, the bottom has fallen out of my life. Master, hear my cry for help. Listen hard, open your ears. Listen to my cries for mercy. Because if you, God, kept records of wrongdoings, who would stand a chance? But as it turns out, forgiveness is your habit, and that's why you're worshipped. I pray to God, my life of prayer, and wait for what he'll say and do. My life's on the line before God. I'm waiting and watching till morning. O Israel, wait and watch for God. With God's arrival comes love. With God's arrival comes generous redemption. No doubt about it, he'll redeem Israel and buy back Israel from captivity to sin. The Apostle Paul has many written prayers in the letters he wrote to the churches. Here's an example from the book of Ephesians. I couldn't stop thanking God for you. Every time I prayed, I'd think of you and give thanks. But I do more than thank. I ask. Ask that the God of our Master Jesus Christ, the God of glory, will make you intelligent and discerning in knowing him personally. Your eyes focused and clear so that you can see exactly what it is he is calling you to do. Grasp the immensity of this glorious way of life he has for his followers, the utter extravagance of his work in us who trust him. Endless energy, boundless strength. What a great prayer to pray for your kids, for your partner, or for anyone else who you care about. There are many ways that we can pray Scripture, but if you're interested in trying one of these, there again are resources on the Spiritual Formation page. I know that sounds like a lot, but here's my encouragement. If you don't have time to do all of these things, just choose one. Do one thing. Read it, memorize it, listen to others writing about it, or pray it. Constraint is the friend of growth. So choose one and keep at it. And if you meander away and stop doing your practice, that's okay. Just try again. And then again, and then again. You have your whole life to wrestle with this story. Have a great June, Lakeview. See you on the first Wednesday in July.